So welcome everybody. We have a few more folks who are waiting to get in. It's a really significant evening for us on Earth Day. Very significant because we're looking at the notion of well-being, what it is to be well. And I guess on Earth Day, the invitation is to contemplate that in terms of the holistic context, which is our relationship with the whole environment. And I'm so aware of the statement by Jidda Krishnamurti, who said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And so in the Holos project, well-being is one of the key generative themes that we've identified. And of course, rather than judging society as being sick, we prefer to see it in an evolutionary process. What are we learning from our relationship with each other, from our relationship with society, from our relationship with Mother Earth, so we can adapt in a way which helps us to evolve even further? And so on this Earth Day, it seems to be a wonderful opportunity to share this space around well-being at a holistic level. And I'm very pleased for us that are together to address that. It's also so interesting to see faces that are now becoming friends. We're meeting in various environments. There's a multi-leveled community here. Some of us met last night. Some of us met this morning. And so it is so great to be building these relationships as we find out what it is that unites us in a common endeavor. So with those few words from myself, thank you for joining us. I'm going to hand over to Joshua to introduce our lovely guest tonight.
My work, I don't come across many people who are pursuing systemic community development through holistic well-being. Of course, I thought that was a really significant thing. And Sue is a mindfulness meditation teacher, a holistic lifestyle coach. She was a registered nurse with over 4 decades of nursing in clinical care, healthcare management and education. And interestingly, amazingly, she traveled the world with her husband for 2 years, researching indigenous cultures regarding health and healing. She then trained with Deepak Chopra at the Chopra Center for Wellbeing because of his expertise in both endocrinology and Ayurvedic medicine. And later she completed a voluntary position as health and wellbeing ambassador to the then High Sheriff of Nottingham, or Nottinghamshire, who was Dr. Yaz Bhikkhu, where the focus was on conversations, collaborations, connections around co-creating integrative care communities. So Sue's going to speak to us for 25 minutes, and then we'll break up into breakout rooms, and we'll have questions for you to discuss then, and then we'll have feedback. So I'm going to, well, it gives me great pleasure to welcome my colleague, friend, Sue, to this space. Sue, over to you.
Thank you so much, Josh, and Claudius as well, for inviting me to speak. And I've been fortunate enough to come for the last 2 meetings, and I listened avidly to your group. And it feels a beautiful fit to be here today with my background in holistic health and well-being on World Earth Day, because I'm passionate about the whole panorama of health. And I was looking at what Earth Day is really focusing on at the moment, and it's about restoring our Earth, the Earth's ecosystem. And sometimes I see words, and this is what the entanglement of the logos, this little teaser that we put into the title, which I don't normally talk about. It's something that I just get on and do, with the spirit of well-being. And it's looking at the whole holistic panorama, but so much about the Earth, because unless we get it right within ourselves, the earth needs healing, but we also need healing as well. There's a lot of healing that needs to take place, particularly at this time that we've had for the last year. It's been a tough time for many of us, and I would suggest it maybe has affected many of us on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, and maybe it's asked us many questions to do with what's my purpose and spiritual growth, and what am I doing here? Why do I wake up every morning? These sort of very deep questions that have probably arisen in many of our psyches over the time we've had this great pause. That's for us, and the rest of the holistic model, as I see it, and I've been trained in it as well from nursing right back in the early 70s, was to not only consider ourselves, but consider ourselves first, because healing starts from within, but also look at that, what surrounds us. So as a young 18-year-old nurse, we were allowed in those days to really get to know our patient, and we would ask those questions about them. We would always bring in spirituality. It was very interesting. It was always a question. So, what do you mean by that? Are you talking about religion? No, I'm asking about you. What makes your heart sing? What is it that you want to do in your life? What is your passion? If you didn't have to work, what would you do? Is your work your passion? These sort of questions always were bubbling up in my awareness. But then looking from that, from us, the person, or as a nurse, the patient in that bed, they were not just John Smith in a bed. They were somebody who was unwell and was wanting to get better, and we were there to facilitate that. But we were only a small part of that, because also what surrounds the person, or who surrounds the person, has equal weighting. So the significant person, so who are their family, and all the way through the family, the children, the wife, the husband, or whoever. And then what does that person do so that's the social side. Where do they live? And what's their community like? And then moving out into, what's your job? And does this job give you great fulfillment? And these questions are thought-provoking. And this is why I bring this up at the very beginning. And so the financial model of we need to work to pay, to buy our bread, to have a lifestyle that we want, but is this making you sick? That wasn't actually the question. It was, that was the leading question. What do you do for work, and do you enjoy it? And are you supported at work? And then the big question is the ecological wellness. And I trained in Sheffield, which is it was quite a mining area. In fact, you could hardly see where you were going. It was so sooty and dusty. And so many miners came in with these terrible breathing problems. And, it was about, and is about now, about Mother Earth gives us air to breathe good, full lungfuls of air. The soil and the food that we eat is locally sourced, nourishing food. It gives us food. So we connect with our food again. And the water that we drink, is that clean? Is that pure? And if we've got those right within that environment, then of course and if we've got everything right, we move from illness to wellness. But it takes a joint journey. And this is what I've found as I've traveled the world. It's actually 12 years tramping the world. I kept coming home with my husband so we could see our family and friends and sort the house out. But going through the indigenous and visiting all the indigenous cultures that I was able to, a long time in India, a long time traveling in a Land Rover through 9 countries in Africa, Bhutan, the southern states of North America, and seeing, and actually going back to Africa to work, what is it that helps people heal? That's been my question, because I had a health blip myself, and it was stress and overwhelm. And I needed to find my own healing. So there was no grand plan here. It's how can I get better? Because if I can get better, because the medical model wasn't there to serve me. It was there, but it was offering antidepressants, and I wasn't depressed. I didn't know what was wrong. How could I find my own path to well-being? And so within 25 minutes, I just want to share a few bits of that through the Logos. Now, this is just a little bit of fun, but I was shown a vision in 2016. And I dreamt it and I wrote it down, and it had never happened to me before, but it was so stunning that I had to write it down. And this vision said, I was to co-create compassionate communities throughout the world, and within that integrate holistic healing hubs. Oh, okay. No idea what that meant, but obviously, you know, wrote it down and was interested. And then bit by bit, this started to evolve into mass mindfulness. And I run a project called MOM, Moments of Mass Mindfulness. And also another project called Self-Care World. So as people find themselves when we come together in mass meditation, and that was in the physical, and we had 800 people in the Market Square in Nottingham, as we find each other, and the holistic practitioners are around, and I'm talking about practitioners from what they call complementary, but we're now talking about integrative. People found their way to these people and were able to experience what they offered. And within that offering, they found real beauty. They found an opportunity to be heard, to be seen, to be listened to, and to be cared for. So that took me on this journey, and I'm with you today, working in service into the world with Josh on a project in Nottingham called NG, because that's our postcode. And then I realised as you expanded that, it became energy. So where's the energy in Nottingham? And we've found it. It's everywhere, but it's actually in the heart. So when we find this energy, this love that's in the heart that comes within, raise our vibration, this is when we start to heal. So I'd like to just, in the spirit of well-being, I'd just like to show you just a few slides. I'd like to lead you in just a very short meditation, if that's all right with you, if you'd like to join in, because I'd like you to feel the resonance of being in that heart space. So I have got a slide because it's World Earth Day. And I invite you to, what they say is it's a Sioux Indian saying, the longest journey you'll ever take is from your head, from your heart. So this isn't an intellectual talk, it's a heart-based talk. So with that in mind and in spirit, I'd like you to please simply focus your eyes, a soft gaze on this slide, on this World Earth Day, and just simply look. And as you look, you may see, because that's a more mindful way of using our vision. And when we look at this word earth, you may see in it the word ear. What we hear may be soothing. You may see the word art, because health is actually described within public health as a science and an art. And I would suggest that science has become so powerful and good. However, the arts have lost their place within health. And it's a vision of many of us to bring those arts back, the healing arts, the arts of stillness, the arts of meditation, contemplative practices, dancing, singing, whatever makes your heart sing, gardening, but being able to be present in the moment, away from the past and the future for a period of time, to bring stillness into the system. And when we settle the nervous system, we automatically then start to move into an endocrine system, the hormonal system, which is optimal, away from the stress response, more into the relaxation response. And then when that happens, when we bring that into coherence, into alignment, our immune system takes a big breather and is able to get on and do what it's there to do, rather than working in a fog of cortisol and adrenaline, which causes inflammation, and from inflammation causes disease. So going back to this picture and these words, I invite you to take the letter H and put it at the front of Earth. And then there you see heart. So within Earth, there is so much. So we're now going to, just for probably 2 or 3 minutes, connect our heart with Earth. So how to do this? And I use heart math. Heart math, if you know about heart math, the leading scientists of research into the heart as more than a pump, but as an energetic field through the electromagnetic field, much greater, much wider, about 60 times wider. And the electromagnetic field is from the heart than the brain. So we take in impulses according to heart math, and it's very well researched through the heart. So let's either lower our gaze or close our eyes, whichever feels comfortable for you in this moment. And bearing in mind the word well means comfort, and being is a present moment. So well-being, when you find comfort in the present moment, away from past and future, here now, you start to move into coherence. So with your eyes closed or gaze softened, feeling comfortable, I invite you to take your attention to the heart space all across the chest and breathe into that space. Breathe a natural breath, no need to change anything. Breathe a natural breath. But with this focused awareness, this is your power, your superpower. Feel the heart, the chest rise on the in-breath and the chest fall on the out-breath. Maybe take your shoulders back a little. Notice your posture. And as you do this, breathe in maybe a little deeper. But find and maintain comfort. And then the heart lock-in, heart math breath is the same breath in as the same breath out, the same time, without a pause in between the in and the out breath. So it's a flow breath. So I invite you, let me guide you. Breathe out a little and then breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5. Now find your own count so that the rhythm flows with the rhythm of the universe. That's where comfort comes from. But find your count and then with your attention in the heart space, simply breathe it in and breathe it out. If your mind wanders, just bring it back gently with kindness to this place. And then think of somebody who really loves you, or a pet, a person who is alive or maybe has passed, but who has that deep, deep love for you. Visualize that person and feel the feeling within you of being loved. Feel the feeling of love. Stay with the breath, the rhythm of the breath. And as you're doing that, you're doing engineering, because you're shifting so much within you, but you are within. So that person or pet that brings you great joy, and give gratitude for that person or pet having been in your life or is in your life. And then let it go. And then flow with the breath, just for another moment. This is a breath of calm. If you want to take the breath into relaxation, breathe a little deeper so that you feel it in your belly. And then breathe it out slowly. And then when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes And simply notice in this moment how you're feeling. Just spend a moment. So, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And I hope that you feel centered and aware. This is what holism is about. It's about the awareness that arises when we're still and allows us to connect to the energies of the world and our own energies, and notice when our energies dip. So the next word I'd love you to look at is compassion, because at the heart of everything that I have done really throughout my life is based on care and compassion. And this word, you maybe see it, but look, and then see the first 7 letters. And it's a compass. The last 3 letters are ion, a molecular charge, either positive or negative. So we know the dictionary definition of compassion, but from a holistic standpoint, I would suggest that we start to navigate through our own knowing when we start to settle the mind, the body, and the emotions, and navigate through our own compass. Because it's said that health is generalized, well-being is individualized. We each need to find our own formula. There is not one formula. You know, the diets and all the stuff that we read in the paper, that may not suit you. But when you start to become connected to your own navigation, you will know when you're still, and then you can choose. You become that conscious choice maker. I'm going to eat this, I'm going to do this, and it may be something that will maybe not make me feel so well tomorrow, but I'm going to make that choice. Yes, I'm going to do it, or I'm not. So again, in this world, there's no rules. You are your own guide. If you look at this word again, the first 3 letters are coming together. And the last 7 are passion. So coming together in a passion of bringing forward the whole holistic framework, whatever it is. And the question is, what makes your heart sing? And when you move into a passion, whatever it is, and as Deepak Chopra often says, you know, we get to a stage where we attract compliments or we attract criticism, but we don't have to take, that's external. We don't really have to notice that. We accept it. We say, you know, thank you very much for whatever. We move away from the ego that likes to nurture that, or, you know, move downwards if it's something negative. And simply be in this moment with this passion that is yours and yours alone. So that's compassion. And compassion and care, I think care is the next word. Care is at the heart of healing. And the way that I have seen this word for quite a while is the C for care is compassion. The A for care is alignment. Bringing ourselves, as we did, as we call coherence or balance, but bringing ourselves into alignment again and again to feel the feelings that are arising or the emotions and accept them. That's the A again, alignment and acceptance. The R I see as regenerative relationships, because no man is an island, as we know, and we know that we need each other. And COVID has certainly shown us that, how much we are self-reliant, and that of course is at the very beginning, but we do need each other. And very soon we are moving back into the physical, and whilst the virtual has got a place, and it's amazing, and it's a revelation to me personally, the regenerative relationships that we can come, like here, we're all over the world. I mean, this is beyond awesome. But we also need the hugs. We need the presence, we need the physical, we need the energy of each other. And as HeartMath shows through their research, you know, up to 6 feet in front of us is our own energy resonance. So regenerative relationships. And the E's got so many to it, but it's energy, it's empathy, putting yourself in the shoes of others. And this is what nursing's about a lot. It's about the empathy that we're able to put up, but without taking the grief that goes with it, to really help us feel the feelings of what that person is needing and help them towards self-regeneration, and evolve. So I move on to breathe. Got 2 more words. Breathe. Now, if we look and see this word breathe, this is the life force. What they say within the ancient wisdom is the prana, the life force, travels on the breath and it leaves. So the life force, and the letters at the end of this logos, this word, as we untangle it, or it's entangled, is B, B-E. And right in the middle of breathe is heart, is earth, is ear, is eat, is heard. There's so many words in the middle of breathe. And it's a remembering that when we breathe, we're breathing in from Mother Earth, because we're breathing in the air and we hope it's clean and it's nourishing. And one more word, because as we do this, we start to evolve. And I'm reminded of a beautiful quote by Carl Jung, who says, eternal truth needs a human language that alters with the spirit of the times. And I believe the spirit of the times are here now. With many of us, maybe all of us, have been working on a foundation for this emergence that's happening in this moment, where the arts are accepted into health. Healing is a word that is acceptable, not as a la la woo woo. It's imperative that we are facilitated to be able to heal ourselves and then find the help and the support that we require. Well, so healthcare model is there and will always be there, and it's wonderful. Back to my one of my mentors, Deepak, he says we've become wonderful technicians but lousy healers through our medical model, and we've evolved into an illness model, and we are really deeply seeking from our hearts a wellness model. And the belief is that we have it, we simply need to remember it, and we simply have the facility of these practices. So this word evolve, if you look at the first 4 letters, it's love backwards. As we evolve through this holistic model in love. And then if we look at the last 4 letters, the middle 2, again, that's love again. So within the word evolve, in this language of the spirit of the times, as we evolve in love. And when we move ourselves into this place of heart resonance, we automatically radiate, well, we automatically drink enough love in for ourselves because we take time out to do this. And it is a practice. So when we take the time out to do that, we have enough to radiate out to our care, to our others, people around us, our family, our friends. Whilst we stand tall and straight and true, we're able to look at the place that we live. And what does our neighbourhood need? What's our community need? We don't really need to be doing anything. We just simply need to be finding people who are resonating at that level. And then out into the world, into Mother Earth, who is sick. No 2 ways about it. And there's a lot that we've done without any knowledge. We had no idea when plastics came along that this would be the consequence. But it's not about beating ourselves up. It's about each one of us, bit by bit, finding each other who are resonating at the level, who are evolving in consciousness through a holistic approach, and able then to share, so we're not alone, and then evolve human and global consciousness. And that was the dream. How do we find each other and evolve in human consciousness? Well, this COVID time has helped many of us reevaluate our lives, reevaluate what is necessary for us to thrive, or indeed have found it incredibly difficult and want to reach out to people and be able to be seen and heard and listened to, and maybe massaged, and to get rid of toxicity, or the ancient treatments of Reiki and pranayama, and there's so much. But I really do believe, a personal belief but once shared, is that meditation, mindfulness, contemplative practices is the key, and the key is the breath. To simply breathe consciously will change everything. So I hope I'm still within my 25 minutes. I just want to give one more quote that Claudius gave me on the very first time that I met him, that I went, wow, this is incredible. And it was from Roger Brooke, South Africa in Search of the Soul. You may know it. And he says, the shift now is from heroic conquest to revered embrace. And that kind of blew my mind, because this is about, the revered embrace is about embracing all. And it's about embracing yourself, who you are right now, right here, and knowing that there are so many people out there who are wanting to connect, so that we can raise human and global consciousness in the spirit of well-being in this time. So I thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Sue. And so what I really enjoyed about that was that we came down from the heavy intellectual cerebral stuff to really experience our own heart experience together. And what I really enjoyed was the notion that healing begins within, because we're so focused on fixing it out there that it begins within, and it's about that resonance. I heard a statement the other day that somebody was criticizing Joseph Campbell's notion of follow your bliss. And he said, no, really, you follow your blisters. And my sense is that our blisters are simply guidelines for showing us where we actually want to get back to the resonance that you were talking about. So our opportunity now in the next 25 minutes will be to share a question that is in the chat box, and is right at the top of the chat box. So if you'll scroll up there, our topic that we want to explore is, in your experience, can you share an example of healing at different levels? Levels of physical levels, psychological levels, social community levels, or spiritual levels. We want to really tap into how we already know, have seen, have experienced, to remember that. And to take an ownership of the fact that we are adaptive, healing, growing, evolving people. If you can't think of something immediately in the chat room, then something that really spoke to you, of experience that you know about, something that touched you, of a function of healing. It might be a piece of land that was healed. It might be a community that was healed. My mind goes to the Truth and Reconciliation in South Africa, where they were trying to heal deep, deep division. But really, the first prize is the personal experience. I saw this, I experienced this, and to share that so we can re-own that. So with those few words, I'm going to invite us over to our technical expert, Nick. Thank you, Nick, for being with us, who will divide us up into chat rooms. And then we will have this conversation for about 25 minutes. And then we'll come back and have a discussion together around the insights around what we can own, and maybe have another conversation with Sue, who so gently led us into this very vital space at this time in human history. So over to you, Nick. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to have a little dance between Nick and myself about who was in which chat room. And so, are we all back? I think there's one chat room that still needs to come back in. Nick, who was in chat room 1? Have you got a name so we can just call up chat room 1?
I believe in chat room 1, I know that Frederick Hols, is it Frederick
Holscher?
Yeah, I believe he was in chat room 1.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we just want to share the deeper insights that we gathered from the conversation. And so in chat room 1, the folks that were with Frederick Holscher, if you had appointed a spokesperson, then share, or it just popcorn, just jump in. Chat room 1.
I might start this off, perhaps for Frederick. We ended on the note of laughter, and it was partly related to Mandela and partly related to other things, but laughter was seen as being a form of healing. Frederick, do you want to add some more?
Unmute, Frederick.
We talked about that in South Africa, where we had to go into companies. Sorry, I just want to get my camera in a better space. Where we need to go in companies where there was lots of racial tension, and you could talk about what people eat, different foods, and whatever, and different jokes. And Sharon and myself are trained as laughter facilitators. So one of the activities that we did is we just got the different groups to laugh together without telling any jokes, but we've got a few techniques, and laughter is a very contagious emotion. And it was really amazing to see at the moment when black people and white people, was kind of at different sides, just start to laugh together and walk, and what tremendous healing there was, without words and without theories and concepts and using our cognitive abilities, but more emotional connection. So
Thank you. For that. Maybe chat room 2.
I believe it might have been yourself and Sue that were in chat room 2.
Yeah, I'll do that. We spoke about the conditions that create opportunities for healing to take place on those levels, and sometimes how that intersection of time, chronological time, and that chronos time, that that we never quite know when that can take place. And we spoke about emotion and that energy seeking purpose, quality, just a little bit like the laughter, and being. I think we ended on this experiential, that sense of being, and how anything can happen when we come away from our thinking. Anything else, group?
Sandra, do you want to share something there?
Well, I think just the importance of our emotions, the way we deal with it, not repressing that, but give opportunity to hear the message the emotions bring to us. Most of the time we repress because socially a lot of them are not accepted, and emotions are kind of language. That there's something that, like you said, has to come up and to be in alignment and just let go. And I think Sue, as a nurse, knows that everything we repress, all the emotions we repress, we cause disease. Can be mental disease, can be physical disease. Yeah, I think just to learn to deal with our emotions, not rationalize them, but to express in a healthy way.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Let's go to group 3 then, and give us a name there, Nick.
I believe that was Joshua's group.
Joshua's group.
Okay, well, I think one of the things that came across was that there's the Hamlet quote that Shantina shared. There are more things in heaven and earth. And I can't remember the quote now, but all of our experience related to, in a way, being open to moving our judgment somehow. Other people can please come back in, guys. But it was something along those lines of what do you have to do to create a conducive environment in which something can move, and can you stay in that space? There's a quote by my very good friend Ahmad in Canada, who has studied ancient Chinese medicine and acupuncture. He talks about the meeting place, and he says the meeting place does not exist until we go there, and because it has no form, it has infinite potential, and the meeting place is everywhere. And we just mentioned that we were, because we had shared very personally in the group, we had created something which was, it had softened our communications, our expectations of ourselves and each other, but created a conducive space for sharing. And in terms of listening, and Christian shared his new role as healing engineer in his company.
Joel, I wonder if you would be happy to maybe put that wonderful statement by Ahmad into the chat box. Are you able to do?
Yes, I will do, yes. Yeah.
And Christian, would you explain what that is about?
Well, I basically explained what I'm doing for on a professional level. I mean, I studied mechanical engineering 25 years ago, so I'm really a technical guy. But during our conversation, the breakout room, I explained that over the last couple of years, I met people I was leading and I was in charge of, and we don't work with each other anymore, but there's still quite a few who come back whenever they have a problem. And I related back to what Sue said. Sometimes it's enough to provide people with a space where they can actually talk because someone is listening, which is basically enough to solve their problems, or at least put them in the progress of solving the problems. And Shantina basically said, okay, so you are not an engineer, you are a healing engineer. And I said, yeah, it's probably quite a good idea to think about.
Thank you for that. Group 4, who was there, Nick?
I believe that was with Christopher Cook. I believe that was your group.
I didn't know it was my group, but what I'd like to say is that the experience of the group was very much stepping into a healing space. So I don't really want to tell you anything about what went on, other than, for me, what we experienced was an epitome of what Sue was describing, because we were bathed by the melody of accent and voice, and our conversation was very much about our interaction and communication with nature, especially water, and how that relationship with water is very closely associated with dreams, with the more subtle aspects of our existence. So for me, it was I was bathed by a healing experience in itself. And I'm going to pass over to Rexley and/or Patrick.
Rexley.
Yes, I'll agree with all of that, because from a dream perspective and from just listening also to the accents, I was reminded of water, that it was a mixture. It was a bit like flowing from one experience to the next, to hear about the soil and the plants and the water, and especially the descriptions of Ireland, and then the rain in Ireland, and we talked about the rain in South Africa being very different, the water, and some dreams that I had, which I shared, which changed my whole life direction, a realization that my soul was calling me by name
in 2010, and the voice of my soul has called me so loudly that I changed my entire life around, and I relocated here last year, quite close to where my father's family used to live as market gardeners in Kent, a few centuries ago. So, and then listening to Christopher talk about walking through a fermentation room with great big fermentation containers and feeling the warmth, and then making a connection to the earth, and his experiences from there, and Patrick's accent being gloriously Irish was like lilting on my ears. And while he spoke about the plants on the farm and making little boats that went down the river, taking his dreams. So although these were sort of intensely personal, it was just wonderful to share space with two people and not have to go anywhere and do anything and achieve anything and pass anything or win anything, or just be there in that time with people sharing their thoughts and their experiences.
Thank you for that. And I'm so aware as I listen to you talking, Rexley, that your world is the world of music. And I'm so aware that there's a huge study about the healing power of music. That could be a whole webinar all on its own.
With anything that I could share, it would be a pleasure to share with you, because yes, my whole life has been not only tied up with the learning of music and performing it, but somehow it has been a kind of inner force that pulled me along. And it has a lot of similarities to music, to water and connectivity and language and feelings, and it's all overlapping, really.
I'd love to hear Patrick say something after what you said, Rexley, because it was just beautiful to be bathed by your accent and Patrick. Sorry, Patrick, are you there?
Patrick is hiding. Patrick,
he's hiding.
Yeah, he's hiding in the dark. Patrick, where are you?
Okay. Did we have more than 4 groups, Nick?
We only had 4. Unfortunately, there was quite a bit of dropout when we went into the breakout room, so we ended up with 4.
Great. So what we can do now is maybe we have a conversation with Sue, and maybe the way we do this is just put up your hand when you've got something to share. So if you go to the bottom, you'll see reactions. If you tap on reactions, you'll see there's put up your hand, and then maybe, Sue, are you ready to just hear what people have to share? Okay. I'll open this space, and I'm going to open it just by what I shared is that in my study academically of psychoneuroimmunology, of what we knew, the experience that I've had could not be explained within the study of psychoneuroimmunology, of biopsychosocial health. There was something much deeper going on. And so that brought me to reflect on your notion of the entanglement of the logos, just as it comes into your heart and mind. What is that meaning for you now?
The entanglement of the logos.
Yes.
Well, I feel like I've come out. I've been doing this, I've been seeing words in a different way for a long period of time, and I've got hundreds and hundreds of them, and I write them down, and sometimes a sentence, which I decode, but it's the simpleness of being able to see a word and then see a new meaning in it, and then having this ability to share, because Claudia, you said, let's put this in the title. It's like, oh, this was a secret, but it wasn't a secret. It was kind of an open secret, but it feels very empowering now, because all these other words that I've got, what I've been shown is not to put them in a book. They need to be shared through the voice, because it's part of the healing process. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but I'm very grateful for being able to have the confidence to say this is a very big part of my life. I dream them a lot, and then I'm shown what they should look like.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I see your hand, Frederick, and you're muted.
Yes, Sue, I found that very intriguing, the way that you play with words. I feel that that is something that, I mean, we always have these maps, you know, like the map and the territory, you know, but I mean, love, and I mean, love has got a meaning, but the moment when you start to shift the letters around, I was just wondering, to what extent have you got kind of words with negative experiences, and we could retrieve, change the letters around to make it something beautiful?
Yeah, evil.
Evil, yeah.
And you turn it round because it's a mirror image of live.
Yeah.
So you know, you look at that. The one that I love is fears. You know, we have so many fears within us, but when you reconfigure that, it turns into safer. The same letters. Yeah. So it's looking at this in a new light, and it's then empowering us to know that fears reconfigured in terms of insight and knowledge and what is our fears, and then in a safe space being able to, and I'm also a laughter yoga leader, which is great fun, is be able to express, because we've talked a lot about emotions, let it go, because what we have is, you know, we're stimulating the vagus nerve through laughter, through crying, aren't we, which settles the nervous system, and then we move into a space of safer. And there we start to be able to anchor ourselves on Mother Earth and ground. So that's two of loads.
Yeah. So love, evil and love. What is the other one? Fears. You say what is it?
Fears. F-E-A-R-S turns into safer.
Safer.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Lovely. And I think one must play around with that. I think it's a beautiful way of reframing. You know. Kind of situations. I like that. Thank you.
May I just share one more? Because when America was going through a very difficult time with the outgoing president, what came through was that the word America reconfigures into 3 words, which is I am care. And then a poem. I had a whole poem that came through, which I read on World Peace Day. But it's again looking at a country which is a great country, but which you know became polarized. But if we put care at the center of that, at the heart of it, then we can maybe move. Yeah.
Lovely. I'd love to see what we can do with South Africa and the United Kingdom. You know?
Yes.
Well, Britain. Oh, I've got all about Britain.
Britain,
My
yeah,
God,
okay.
tons of stuff about Britain.
And so I see Marcus's hand is up, and I'm very pleased, Marcus, because you're also going to be our next presenter when we look at the deep evolution of the human psyche and deep psychology. So you have a comment or a question, and maybe you can just share what you'll be, as you think of it now, what you'll be sharing with us next month.
I'll do my very best. I wanted to offer into the anagrams that Sue was sharing, and the fact that she framed it, or you framed it for her as the logos, the connection to archetypes that in a way the emotions and the words give access to, and in a particular form of engagement that I once learned, there were the 4 cardinal points of the king, who gives us access to joy, and the magician, who uses the energy of fear to transform things, and the lover, who works with sadness, and the warrior, whose archetypal energy is anger. And while there are many more archetypes and many more emotions in our archetypally and emotionally impoverished world, having access to 4 is already quite a lot. And in a way, this connection to archetype may be one of the things I don't quite yet know. I'm still in the process of working it out exactly, Claudius. But my deep wish was to talk a little about the journey within, or the inner world of consciousness, which is as subjective as it is real. And I wanted to share a little bit from my own experience and my study of it. Not quite sure about the format and how it will work out, but the message that I want to get to from my own experience is that consciousness is not the end, but actually it's the tool that we develop in order to explore what is unconscious.
Mm.
So we're really looking forward to that sharing that you'll take us to. And it's going to be really interesting because it will be just around the time of the Smuts' birthday, Jan Smuts' birthday, the author of Holism. We're celebrating his 151st anniversary. So I think we've just about come to the end of our process together. Maybe, Sue, just a little wrap up from your side, and then Joshua, if you will offer a word of thanks for us, that'll be wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Because it's Earth Day, and Earth and Heart, as we now know, are there, present. Claudia, as you mentioned Joseph Campbell about follow your bliss, and my favourite quote from Joseph Campbell on this special day is, "The goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature." And when we're in rhythm and we're in flow, then magic happens, healing happens, and much more than that happens. So those are my final words, but I would like to thank everybody for being here, for sharing, and for being invited into this group. And I look forward to hearing Marcus talk next month. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone. That last quote that you shared, I think, was coming out in many of the groups, that however we align ourselves, there's a way of hearing and seeing and experiencing more in a healing way. So thank you again for bringing the feminine into this space and holding us with your care. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.